Welcome to your weekly Leadership Principle by Coach AJ and the mentor team at Martin County PAL. At Martin County PAL, our goal is not discipline, it is growth. We meet youth where they are and help them develop into healthy, productive leaders for the future.
That is such a strong mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to ask, you were actually in the room for this week's session, right? You were observing firsthand.
I was sitting right in the back, just taking it all in. And I have to be completely honest with you, when I saw the topic on the whiteboard, the word was attitude. I actually felt a little cringe.
Oh, I bet. I mean, attitude is one of those really loaded words, especially for a teenager. Usually means some adult is about to lecture them on why they should, just smile more.
Exactly. I was expecting the standard turn that frown upside down kind of speech. I was fully ready for the eye rolls from the kids. I figured they'd just check out. But that didn't happen at all. The room got surprisingly quiet when Coach AJ started speaking. Because he didn't start with be happy. He started with this reality check that, honestly, I think the adults in the room needed to hear just as much as the middle schoolers did.
So what was the angle? Because usually when we talk about attitude, we slip into this kind of toxic positivity. Just ignore the bad stuff and pretend everything is great.
No, this was the exact opposite of that. It wasn't about suppressing emotion at all. It was about mechanics. It was about control. He opened up by telling them, look, everyone has triggers. He didn't say leaders don't get angry. He said everyone, CEOs, coaches, parents, students, we all have buttons that get pushed.
I really like that approach because it destigmatizes the anger.
Yeah.
If you tell a kid that good leaders never get mad, they know you're lying to them.
Right. They see right through it.
Exactly. But if you say leaders get triggered, but they handle it differently, now you actually have their attention.
And he proved it immediately. He did this exercise called the trigger card. He literally handed out index cards to every student in the room and asked them to write down the specific things that 99.9% of the time immediately put them in a bad mood.
Wow.
Yeah, the things that just flipped the switch for them.
That's actually a classic cognitive behavioral technique, though I'm sure they didn't call it that. By writing it down, you're externalizing the trigger. It stops being, I am angry, and it becomes, this event causes anger. What kind of things were they writing down?
It was incredibly relatable stuff. You had the standard teenage things like when teachers don't grade my work on time, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, very good.
And when people yell at me, a really big one was snitching or just generally feeling ignored or disrespected. And looking around the room, you could see all the heads nodding. They were totally validating each other's frustration.
But if you notice the pattern there, right, the teacher, the yeller, the snitch, those are all completely external variables.
Yes. And that is exactly where Coach AJ set the trap. He let them vent for a minute, and then he just pivoted. He told them, we cannot stop the triggers.
Right.
The teacher might always be slow to grade. That is a fact you cannot change. Traffic is always going to be bad. People are occasionally going to be rude. If your good mood depends on the world behaving perfectly, you are never, ever going to be in a good mood.
That is the absolute hardest lesson in emotional intelligence. We all want to believe that if we just fix the people around us, we'll be happy. But what he's teaching there is the fundamental difference between stimulus and response.
And sitting there watching these kids identify their triggers, I felt this massive nudge in my own gut. I really had to ask myself, do I do this?
Oh, absolutely we do.
When things go wrong at home, when the milk spills or we're running late for school or I can't find my keys, do I react as if the circumstance is the problem? Or am I actually modeling emotional regulation for my kids?
It's humbling. Because if I lose my mind over a lost shoe or, a red light on the way to work, I've just shown my kid that a piece of footwear or a traffic signal has more power over my mood than I do.
It's so funny you mentioned the red light because that was a specific example Coach AJ used with the group. He told this story about a coworker who let a single red light ruin their entire morning. They're screaming, banging on the steering wheel, declaring, I knew this was going to be a bad day.
We call that confirmation bias. You decide it's a bad day right then and there, so your brain just starts looking for evidence to prove you right for the rest of the day.
He called it the Monday mentality. You know how people always say, it's Monday.
Yeah, like it's a curse.
Right. He pointed out that by saying that, you are intentionally lowering your standards. You are expecting the day to be a grind, so you actually make it a grind.
That's a script we write for ourselves. But breaking that script is incredibly hard. It's one thing to just say, don't let the red light bother you, but in the actual moment, your cortisol is already spiking. Did he give them a visual or a tool to handle this? Because willpower usually isn't enough.
He did, and this was honestly the highlight of the night for me visually. He used this brilliant metaphor about a coloring book.
Oh, walk me through that.
Okay, so imagine a page in a coloring book. It has those black printed outlines, right? A house, a tree, maybe a landscape. Coach AJ explained to the room that those black outlines are your circumstances. That is the picture you were handed for the day. You cannot erase the lines. You can't move the house. That is your reality.
Okay, so the black lines are the math test, the rain, the rude comment. It's fixed reality.
Exactly. But, and here is the major shift, the colors you choose to fill it in with. That is your attitude. He told them you can take a black crayon and just scribble angrily all over the page, completely ignoring the lines. You can make it dark and ugly. Or you can take your time. You can use vibrant colors. You can make it detailed and beautiful. The picture itself is fixed, but the art is up to you.
That's so effective because it gives agency back to the child. It doesn't deny the black lines. It doesn't say, hey, pretend the lines aren't there. It just asks, what are you going to do with them?
And you could tell it really landed with the kids. But then he challenged them on the scribbling part. He asked, how many of you are scribblers? Meaning, when one single thing goes wrong, do you just take a black marker and ruin the whole entire page?
That's the catastrophizing effect. One bad moment suddenly becomes a bad life.
And if we connect this to parenting, we see this in families constantly. I know I'm guilty of it. Maybe breakfast burns or someone forgets their backpack. That's just one black line on the page. But what do? I start snapping. I lecture the whole car ride to school. I'm basically scribbling on the whole morning because of one mistake.
And the really dangerous part is, as parents, we hold the biggest markers in the house. When we scribble, we tend to scribble on everyone else's page too.
Coach AJ actually warned the kids about that exact thing. He told them, don't let others scribble on your page. Just because your friend is in a bad mood, don't let them take their crayon and ruin your drawing. But for us parents, the takeaway is pretty heavy. Are we accidentally scribbling on our child's page through our own stress?
That's a profound responsibility for you to reflect on. It shifts the perspective from, my kid is annoying me, to, I am the artist of the atmosphere in this house right now.
Which leads perfectly into the next segment of the night, which was all about the environment and feelings. Coach Matt, one of the mentors, jumped in here, and I was really glad he did, because there's a massive risk with this kind of attitude talk that it starts to sound like you're not allowed to be sad.
Right, the old stiff upper lip mentality,
Wow.
which we know is actually psychologically damaging.
Exactly. Coach Matt was very clear with the room. He said, feelings are not weakness. It is okay to be angry. It is okay to be sad or hurt or embarrassed. He challenged them to actually feel those things. But then they introduced this concept called the 24-hour rule.
I've heard variations of this in sports psychology. How do they present it to the youth?
The idea is you give yourself a strict timeline. It could be 24 hours or maybe just until dinner time. Right. But you give yourself a specific window to feel the emotion. Vent, cry, punch a pillow, just be upset. Do whatever you need to do. But when that timeline expires, you must shift to positive action.
See, that's crucial. It acts as a container. If you don't have a container, the emotion just bleeds into everything. But if you try to suppress it immediately, it eventually explodes later. This gives them permission to feel, but it sets a firm boundary on how long they stay there.
Coach AJ put it this way, and I loved this. He said, you can visit the bad neighborhood, but you can't build a house there. You can't move in.
That's a great way to put it. The problem is some people, and frankly some families, they do move in. They set up a permanent mailbox in Pity City.
And that brings us right back to the parent's role as the weather maker in the home. The nudge for us here is, if we hold on to a grudge for days, say my kid talked back to me on Tuesday, and I'm still giving them the cold shoulder or making snide comments on Thursday, what am I really teaching them?
You're teaching them that emotions are a permanent state rather than a passing weather system. You're teaching them that forgiveness isn't a skill we practice. And honestly, you're creating an environment where scribbling is just the norm.
It totally destroys the coloring book of the family dynamic. It's just constant scribbling. But I have to tell you, all of this, the triggers, the coloring book, the bad neighborhood, it was all leading up to one specific story. This was the climax of the session. Coach AJ gathered everyone's attention for the donkey in the well.
You know this story. It's an old fable. But it is brutal if you really think about it.
It really is. And the way he told it, I mean, you could hear a pin drop in that room. So a farmer's donkey falls into a dry well. The animal is crying. It's hurt. It's stuck deep down in the pitch black. The farmer runs over, tries to figure out what to do, but he does the math. The donkey is old. The well needs to be covered up anyway. He decides it's just not worth the effort or the money to retrieve him.
Just pause there for a second.
Yeah.
Imagine being the donkey.
Mm.
You're hurt, you're calling for help, and the person responsible for you decides, not worth it. That is a terrifying betrayal.
It gets much worse. The farmer calls his neighbors over, they all grab shovels, and they start shoveling dirt into the well to bury the donkey alive.
It's literally a horror movie.
It really is. And Coach AJ described the sound of the dirt hitting the donkey's back. The donkey is screaming. He realizes exactly what's happening. But then, suddenly, he quiets down. The farmer looks down the well, expecting the donkey to be buried. But instead, he sees something amazing.
This is the pivot.
Yes. With every shovel of dirt that hits the donkey's back, the donkey is doing two things. He would shake it off and then step up. The dirt hits his back, he shakes it off so it falls to the ground beneath him, and then he takes a step up on top of that dirt. Shovel after shovel, shake it off, step up.
So the very thing that was intended to bury him, the dirt, is becoming the foundation he's standing on.
Exactly. The mound of dirt gets higher and higher until the donkey literally just steps over the edge of the well and trots off.
It's a brilliant story of resilience. But why did this hit home so hard for the parents in the room?
Because Coach AJ looked at these kids and told them the hard truth. He said, sometimes people around us are shoveling dirt on us. Sometimes life is shoveling dirt on us. But for the parents, sitting there listening, I realized something truly terrifying.
What was that?
Our instinct, when we see dirt falling on our kid, whether it's a mean teacher, a failure on a math test, getting cut from the basketball team, our instinct is to jump in and catch the dirt. We want to stop the shoveling. We want to build an umbrella over the well to keep them clean.
We want to protect them. That's biologically wired into us as parents. We don't want our kids to feel the weight of the dirt.
But the lesson here, and this is the forming versus protecting distinction, is that we cannot stop the dirt. And more importantly, if we do somehow stop the dirt, there is absolutely nothing for them to stand on to climb out.
It's heavy.
It's a really tough pill to swallow. Because if we protect them from the adversity, if we intervene every single time things get hard, they never learn the mechanism of shake it off and step up.
Precisely. Coach AJ emphasized that the dirt is actually necessary for them to rise out of the hole. If we protect them from the dirt, they just stay at the bottom of the well. They might be perfectly clean, but they're stuck down there. They never develop the muscle of resilience. So the leadership principle isn't about avoiding the well. It isn't about ensuring no dirt ever falls on your family. It's about teaching the mechanics of the climb.
Shake it off, step up. It literally became the mantra of the night. It's about looking at your kid and saying, okay, this happened, this is the dirt, now what is my step?
But let's be real for a second. As a parent, watching your kid get covered in dirt, watching them really struggle with a bad grade or a broken heart, it is excruciating. It takes a massive amount of discipline to sit on your hands and let them do the shaking.
It does. It goes against every fiber of our being. But that's exactly why this is a leadership principle for us, too. Are we leading them to be fragile, or are we leading them to be strong?
So, connecting this back to the coloring book metaphor, the dirt is the black outline. You can't stop the dirt from being there. But the shake and step is how you choose to color the page.
Exactly. You're combining the agency with the reality. Now, the mentor team didn't just leave us with a nice story to think about. Coach AJ is big on action. There is a very specific challenge for you, the parents, this week.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the assignment?
The assignment is to identify one specific dirt moment that happens this week. It could be anything. A plan falls through, someone gets a bad grade, or maybe just a really bad attitude moment triggers the whole family.
Okay, so we spot the dirt. We resist the urge to jump in and fix it immediately. Then what do we do?
The method is simple. You verbalize the language from the session, ask your child, or model it yourself if you're the one struggling in that moment, but ask out loud, okay, this is the dirt. How do we shake it off and take a step up?
I really like that because it completely changes the conversation. It's no longer, why are you being so difficult right now? It's, this situation is the dirt. What is our strategy?
Right. And the goal is to keep it under 5 minutes. Don't turn it into an hour-long lecture about the donkey and the farmer and the history of wells. Just turn a complaint into a step-up moment.
That is way harder than it sounds. In the heat of the moment, when everyone is yelling and the milk is spilled, stopping to say, how do we step up? Feels awkward. It feels totally unnatural.
It feels completely unnatural. But that's the actual work of parenting. It shifts the focus from the victimhood of being buried to the agency of climbing. And that's really what the Martin County PAL program is all about. It's seeing these kids transform from victims of their circumstances into actual leaders of their lives.
Yeah.
And it starts with that attitude. It starts with realizing the shovel is going to come, the dirt is going to fall, but we always have the power to step up.
It's a beautiful lesson. And it's one that, frankly, I think every adult listening needs to practice just as much as the youth. We're all in a well of some kind.
100%. We are all coloring our pages every single day. Thank you for taking a few minutes to invest in your child's growth. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel, like or comment on this episode, and share it with other parents who care about raising strong, capable young leaders. If you would like to learn more about Martin County PAL or are interested in supporting or partnering with our program, please reach out. This work only happens because of people who believe in meeting youth where they are and helping them grow into who they can become. We appreciate you being part of that mission.